In this screencast, you will learn more about the cell parts you read about during today's internet investigation. As you listen to this screencast, think about how each cell part will help us to explain why some apples are mealy tasting and others are crisp.
For this screencast, you will need your colored pencils, a pencil, and the ticket slip you pasted into your science journal. If you don't have the slip, please take a moment to print a copy from your teacher's homework page. As we discussed in class, apples and other fruits are living things. Just like us, they are made of tiny building blocks called cells. The millions of cells group together to form the fleshy fruit that we tasted. Let's take a moment to zoom in and focus on one of these apple cells.
In this picture, you can see that we have color-coded the outer boundary of the cell. This cell part is called the cell wall. It is a rigid protective covering around the cell. You can see in the picture that this layer is pretty thick. This thickness makes the cell wall sturdy and gives the plant cell plenty of support. This covering is not very flexible, and so most plant cells have a boxy, rigid appearance. Pause this screencast and use your green colored pencil to shade the cell wall on your slip. Also, copy down the job of this cell part as it appears on the slide.
Now, let's move on to the layer right underneath the cell wall. Shown in red, this is a much thinner layer compared to the cell wall. We call this layer the cell membrane. The cell membrane is like a security guard and only allows certain molecules to enter and exit the cell. You will want to take a moment to pause this screencast and use your red colored pencil to draw a thin cell membrane underneath the cell wall. Then, write the job of this cell part in the table.
Now, to the really juicy part of the apple cell, the vacuole. The vacuole, shown in blue, is the largest compartment within an apple cell. This cell part stores most of the apple's water and sugar. You can think of this cell part like a water balloon. When full, the vacuole can take up almost the entire cell and push against the cell membrane and cell wall. This makes the entire cell nice and firm. However, on hot days, plants can lose the water in their vacuoles. When the vacuole shrinks, the entire cell, including the cell wall and membrane, can shrink in too, making the entire cell flimsy. Take a moment to shade your vacuole and write its job on your slip.
You can see that the vacuole is floating in a liquid called the cytoplasm. In the picture, we're going to leave the cytoplasm white. The cytoplasm fills the entire cell. Although the picture of this apple cell appears flat, in real life, cells are plump. It is the cytoplasm that fills a cell, giving it a 3D appearance. You can leave the cytoplasm white on your picture too. Just pause to make sure you write down the job of this part on your slip. In this video animation, you can better visualize how a cell is truly three-dimensional. You can see the light blue vacuole clearly taking up a lot of room. Remember, the jelly filling inside the entire cell is making it 3D. The last parts we want to highlight are the nucleus and genetic material. In the picture, the nucleus is shown in purple and the DNA is shown in orange. The nucleus is a very important cell part. You can think of it as the control center of the cell. This is because it contains important instructions called DNA.
All living things have DNA. Think of DNA as an instruction manual, giving the organism all of its traits. In your case, your DNA gives you traits like eye color or hair color, but in the case of an apple, DNA can give it traits like color or sweetness. Feel free to watch this screencast as a reference to help you become an expert on cells. Start thinking about how these cell parts make an apple either mushy or crispy. So how do you get millions of apple cells to stick together? Just use glue, right? Funny enough, there is a glue-like material called the lamella that attaches neighboring cells together by their cell walls. You can see the lamella holding 4 apple cells together. The lamella is shown in yellow. Take a moment to pause and color the lamella on the same picture that appears on your slip. Also write the job of this cell part.
Please take a moment to fill out a Google form so we can see how you're coming along with these science concepts. You can type the link into your browser or click on the link in the video description of this YouTube video. We hope you keep tasting the cells of this phenomenon.